Hi everyone, welcome to my third video. I wish it was my third video for letters to my IUI baby, my process, my journey to, in the name of Jesus, become a mama via IUI or IVF. I'm praying this ends in the IUI phase of this journey, and that I don't have to resort to anything more than just IUI. That is my prayer. That is my hope. I wanted to give you guys a little bit of an update as to where I'm at right now. So the last time that I made this video, we talked about how I got my genetic testing done and that I was waiting for the results to come back. So the results came, and I also shared that I was choosing sperm banks. So I think I've chosen, and I've also narrowed down my sperm donor profiles to two profiles. I've reviewed so many, like over 20, I think, and it was a lot. And I want to share that I didn't really have the brain power or energy to make this video earlier, just because a lot happened during these past few weeks. I started back at work. I, had surgery, and I was away for about six weeks. So coming back to work and getting, used to the flow and just, what I do, the nature of my job as the assistant nursing director of a cardiac unit is being the resource for you're just the resource of the unit the whole 12 hours, sometimes 13 hours. Most often I feel like I'm leaving at 8 p.m. and it's a lot, and you're constantly putting out fires, and you're just, it's a high stress job. So it's just been a lot. It's been overwhelming, I think, mentally getting back into that again. But it's also been a little overwhelming with, having to choose and decide which sperm bank to use, and starting to narrow down the sperm donor profiles, and also getting my results. I think that was overwhelming, and I do want to talk about that today. So the results came back, and my prayer was, Lord, may I not be a carrier of anything, right? May I not have to deal with this. Also, as I'm looking at the donor profiles, I knew that was, there was a very high, I think, chance that I would be a carrier of something, because it's very common. And just for clarification, for those that are non-medical, have never had their own genetic testing done or don't understand why I'm having to get genetic testing, I'm going to give you a little bit of an explanation. So whenever you're doing IUI or IVF procedures, and you're going to be going the route of choosing a sperm donor, right? Someone who you are going to be selecting as the that genetic, all of their genes will be uniting with yours. And once the baby is, created and fertilization occurs, typically one copy of that gene comes from mom and one copy comes from the sperm donor. So it's really important that you know what your own genetic makeup is. If you're carrying any changed copies, meaning like mutated copies that would deem you a carrier of a particular illness, disease, it's super important that you know which one it is, so that when you're selecting your sperm donor, you're not selecting a sperm donor that has that same, that they're a carrier also, basically. Because if you select a carrier of the same disease that you're carrying, the odds that your baby will get the changed copy from the donor and changed copy from you are higher. So it's 1 in 4. So 25% 20% higher. So basically every pregnancy that I would have with using that sperm donor that is carrying the same disease that I, am carrying, it increases it to 25% of, having the disease. So, and I know it's a lot to understand, but that's the simplest way. A carrier is means that you're just carrying a changed copy of that gene. It means healthy. It means, for example, I'm a carrier. I came back positive for carrying a changed copy of a particular illness, and that means that I'm a carrier of, one bad copy. Sometimes people will have two good copies or three good copies. For the most part, you always want two good copies, and all is good. In my case, I have one changed gene, mutated gene, and one good copy for that particular disease. And it was a little scary for me to, process that and just take a deep breath and say, all right, so now I know I carry this. So I need to be very mindful in the future, whether even it is, if in the future, in the coming years, I do find my person, right? My husband, the love of my life. I will very likely, I'll probably have them do genetic testing too, to make sure that they're not carriers of the same thing that I carry. Thank God, out of the 580 diseases that were tested, I only came back positive for carrying one. And that was a blessing because just in looking at different profiles, there's some people that carry about 8, 9, 5 changed copies of different illnesses. So that was very eye-opening to me. So as I learned what I currently carry, it helped me, it like led me in the right direction in choosing and really selecting my sperm donor candidates a lot more like clearly and with just objectivity and just knowing what I was looking for, aside from physical traits and careers and, background, ethnicity. Those things obviously are important, but to me, the most important really was the genetic diseases. I want a healthy baby. That is my prayer. That is my hope. I want healthy babies, or baby. And so, yeah, this phase of the process definitely did become very overwhelming. One, understanding what I am carrying, right? And two, making sure that I'm selecting a sperm donor that is not carrying the same thing that I do, so that I can increase my chances of a very, very healthy baby. And so I had my genetic counseling meeting while we reviewed my results, and it was really informative. It was really nice to understand and know what I should be staying away from regarding, genes, and also understand what it means to be a carrier. It's not like, I'm the disease. You're just carrying a mutated copy, and it just happens. My mom, I don't know if it was my dad or my mom who gave it, but normally, when you have babies, dad gives one gene and mom gives the other copy. So there's a risk that may or may not be carrying things that, people don't even know. Because I feel like, I don't know, 95%, this number I'm just making up, but a high percentage of people don't ever do genetic testing. They'll go throughout their life without ever needing to do that. So this was an incidental finding because of what I'm doing right now, trying to have a baby via sperm donor. So things that I looked at for choosing a sperm bank, there was so many things that I looked at, but aside from price, aside from Google reviews, I Googled a lot and I read a lot of testimonials of like positive pregnancies and quality of sperm, motility. I only found one a sperm bank that guarantees no less than 10 million, I believe, sperm with good motility in their vials. And they guarantee that if, the vial gets shipped to the facility and they thaw it and they see that, the expected count is way less, than what they are basically guaranteeing you, they will reimburse you or send you a new vial, which I thought was really nice. So that was something that I definitely looked at, just price wise, so that you guys can have an understanding. I'm required to purchase a minimum of 2 vials for the process and procedure that I'll be having. That's just for one cycle of IUI, and each vial can go from $1,695 up to $2,195, depending on which bank I choose. Some of the banks will require for you to purchase a family slot. So there are, ethics in this sperm donation and in these sperm banks that really cap the donors at 10 families for their lifetime, or 25 families for their lifetime. The one that I think I'm going to go with, they do have that program. Not all donors are obligated to do it this way, but some of the ones that I did look at definitely had the, in order for you to purchase a vial, you do have to purchase a slot, a family slot, and that costs about $700. So roughly for those 2 vials and shipping, it's going to be about $5,000, and that's just for the sperm. That's not at all counting the actual IUI insemination process, the medication, the trigger shot, the ovulation medication, hormonal therapy that I'll be, on the I'm also going to be on a blood thinner injection during, before, and then as I'm pregnant and after, I believe. And obviously, it's not counting the ultrasounds and blood work and monitoring appointments. So more or less, I feel like I am looking at close to like $10,000 to $12,000 just for one cycle. I'm really praying that there is some sort of coverage with the insurance. I will find out in the coming weeks once my fertility doctor sets the plan and sends it to the insurance. I'm just praying and hoping, but I'm prepared. This is why we're fundraising. This is why my sister and my family have been, really supportive in helping me with just finding ways to really raise funds for this process, because it can get very expensive. I am excited. I feel like we've narrowed down this week. I had a family meeting with my parents, my siblings, to try to really narrow down the 3 candidates that Michelle and I had been looking at. We looked at so many profiles, listened to so many interviews. You can look at baby pictures, adult pictures, you look at their medical history, you look at, they write letters to the recipient. They also write letters to the future baby. They do all these like psychological testing, and it's just been a lot of information, a lot of things to process, to pray about. And this like final meeting with my family, I felt like was very eye-opening to see what my mom is looking at, what my dad, Michelle, Ronnie, and to see where we are, like-minded, what's important to us. And I felt like the Lord was confirming a lot of things. And now I'm going to be setting up my appointment with the gene counselor to review those 2 profiles of my 2 final candidates, so that I feel is going to be like the cherry on top. That's going to really help me decide from those 2 profiles who will be the sperm donor. So that will be most likely my 4th video. I'll be talking about making that choice, and then ordering, I'm sure, the vials, and then I'll probably end up talking about time frame of when more or less the first insemination will be. I have a feeling it's going to be in April. I don't think that I'm going to make it for the March because it follows your cycle. I feel like it might be a little too rushed and I don't want it to be like that. So it's very much probably going to occur in April. So pray for me. I'm super excited. I'm nervous. I'm like scared, but I'm excited. There's so much to happen in the next couple of weeks, and I just want for the Lord to continue to guide this decision, to show me who He wants me to choose, and I just want healthy babies or a healthy baby. I say that because there is a risk. There is, it happens. You can have twins with this process, or you can have one. And I just really want a healthy baby. That is all that I want. I know that, everyone thinks that, you can choose the color eyes and you can choose, in the grand scheme of things, what I'm looking for, honestly, when I'm seeing these profiles, I'm looking at like, I guess intellect, I'm looking at personality, I'm looking at, emotion, kindness, I'm looking at their heart as I'm hearing their interviews, as I see how they're answering their questions, who they're close to with their family. It's a lot of great questions that they ask them, what are they passionate about? What do they value? What types of morals and lessons have, parents given them or siblings. It talks about their career, their hobbies, what they're into, why they decided to donate, why they're in the donor program. So it really gives light to the things that honestly I find important, which is these traits in their personality, their psychology, and then obviously the genetic portion is the most important, I feel, to me, really making sure that I'm choosing someone who is not a carrier of what I carry. So yeah, that was a lot. Thank you for listening. I love you all. Thank you for supporting me. I just want to thank you. You know who you are, everyone who's donated in my GoFundMe account, everyone who's donated items and donated by purchasing in Michelle's Posh shows, her luxury items, and just supporting that, everything that Michelle has been selling these past, I want to say 3 shows have gone directly to that fund for my IUI process. And I really do want to thank you all. I love you all. I welcome all of your prayers. I welcome all of your love, and I'll see you in a few weeks for video number 4. Bye.